Okay, Will. You can just pack it on up and go on home for real though. Yes, thank you, Will. Thank you. So before we even get started, let's take a moment to engage in loving and supporting each other, engaging and being present with each other and in humanity. Please, let's take a moment, get up, or tell somebody hi, look in their eyes, let them know that they matter, give them a hug. Let's do it for a minute.
Thanks for listening.
You know I can't behave.
All right, all right. All right, all right. Happy New Year.
Love you. Love you, good.
I'm in the right place at the right time.
Just want to say Happy New Year to you.
My wife got
Confirm she's a doctor now.
Okay. All right. All right. Did that pretty good. I'm starting to time us on this activity here. So, we are ready for a new year, and our theme for the year is change. Yes. And our theme for the month is change, change, change. And so I think it just came to me while I was sitting here this morning that we ought to just really start right away, and we ought to do something a little different. So here's what we're going to do. Especially if you are one who sits in the same seat every time. Come on, get up, let's do it. You got to move. Everybody got to move. You got to move. Everybody move. If you're in the back, come to the front. If you're in the front, go to the back. Come on, we're on a time. Yes, 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 yes. Move it. Move it, move it, move it. Move it, move it, move it, move it. Move it, move it, move it, move it, move it. Move it. Come on, move it, move it, move it. If you're in the back, come to the front. If you're in the back, come to the front. Get you a seat. Yes. All right. All right. Okay. I can do it. I can do it. All right. All right. All right. All right. New seat, brother. Yes. Tony, you gotta take your seat. We already said hi. All right. So now you all know what you have on your hands this year. For some of you, I saw you kicking and fighting the whole way. So we'll have our practitioners do even more prayer for this congregation.
It sounds different up here.
It sounds different, yeah. Change, change, change. I want to highlight and magnify our mission statement. It says that the centerpiece is a loving, inclusive, and vibrant community that utilizes and demonstrates spiritual principles and practices to cultivate powerful individuals who together create peace throughout the world. Who together create peace throughout the world. And if we're going to live into our mission, that means we've got some changing to do. All of us, not just some of us, but all of us, we've got some changing to do. So usually during this time of the year, not just at the Center of Peace, but at many of our centers throughout the world, we take this time to go back and to revisit the foundational teachings of Science of Mind. And the foundational teachings are found in the Science of Mind textbook. So if you don't have a book, get you a Science of Mind textbook. It's found in the introduction. And the introduction is made up of 4 sections. The thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And so we take each Sunday, one of the Sundays from each of the month of January, to discuss the 4 pieces that make up the introduction, the foundational teaching to Science of Mind. And that's what we're going to do today. And it's very important, this piece of it, this part of the text, because it talks about a whole lot. And it gives us an opportunity to grasp a greater understanding, mostly about the things that we don't understand. It gives us a starting point to begin to do something new. And that new thing is to begin to look at our thoughts, our own thoughts, and what we're thinking. So let me start with just a little bit reading from the thing itself. In it, Ernest Holmes says, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create man in bondage and leave him bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. To suppose that God could make man as an individual without leaving him to discover himself would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. The seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of man. But like the prodigal son, man must make the great discovery for himself. He says about the Science of Mind, which is also the quote that Kutia put in our bulletin for this week. He says that the study of Science of Mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff, and intelligence from which everything comes. The power back of creation, the thing itself. And then he says on page 29 about the power that's at hand. Marvelous as the concept may be, it is nonetheless true that man has at his disposal, in what he calls his subjective mind, a power that seems to be limitless. This is because he is one with the whole on the subjective side of life. Man's thought, fallen into his subjective mind, merges with the universal subjective mind and becomes the law of his life through the one great law of all life. There are not 2 subjective minds There is but one subjective mind, and what we call our subjective mind is really the use we are making of the one law. Each individual maintains his identity in law through his personal use. And each is drawing from life what he thinks into it. To learn how to think is to learn how to live. He says that the simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we have a conscious mind that operates within a subjective field, which is creative. The conscious mind is spirit, the subjective mind is law. One is a complement of the other, and no real individuality could be expressed without a combination of both. No man has ever plummeted the depths of either the conscious or the subjective life. In both directions, we reach out to infinity, and since we cannot encompass infinity, we shall always be expanding and always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. We need not ask why these things are so. There can be no reason given as to why the truth is true. We do not create law and principles, but discover and make use of them. Let us accept this position relative to the laws of mind and spirit and see what we can do with them, rather than how we may contradict the inevitable. Our mind and spirit is our echo of the eternal thing itself, and the sooner we discover this fact, the sooner we shall be free and happy. In other words, you and I, we are the thing itself. No small idea to be present with. When many of us have held as an idea that something outside of us has control over our lives and determines our life, our destiny, our fate. No small idea to begin to put aside for a moment to see if you can come up with another understanding, a new way of being with life, a new way of moving in and through life. It's no small idea to be with. To let go of your God of old, to begin to embody and embrace yourself and what's within. It gives us an opportunity to look at this idea that, because of this, I am that. Or because this happened to me, I am that. I was thinking about it. It's like when we were little, and to get us to understand something, sometimes we had to sing it, you know, like B-I-N-G-O, 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 and bingo was his name, right? So then you learn how to spell bingo, right? Same thing with this idea. It is that, because that happened to me, I am this. No, I am this because that happened to me. I am that because that happened to me. So if we would let go of the B and the E and replace it with I-N-G and get rid of the O and the F, I know you're going to get this in a minute. And let go of the O and the F, we would realize that I am causing that to happen in my life. It's not that because of that, let go of the B and the E, add the I-N-G, and let go of the O and the F. Not because life, not because of that, but because I am creating. I am causing. I'll go over it again. Don't worry about it. But if we don't ever take an opportunity to change, we can easily get stuck or remain stuck in our thinking. See? And we'll never get to peace, we'll never get to experience love in ways that we've never experienced love if we don't change. Because in all that we do here at the Center of Peace, and all of the centers and anyone who is engaged in this type of living, the thing that we are here to do is to teach each other how to think. Not what to think, but how to think. Because there's more to thinking than you thought. Matter of fact, tell your neighbor, there's more to thinking than you thought. And so the truth is this, and you may not know it or you might know it, but many of us who come here to the center and many people that we know, many of us live our lives feeling hopeless. It's true. Maybe perhaps not all the time, but sometime. Maybe perhaps not sometimes, but at moments in our life we feel hopeless. Or maybe not you, but maybe somebody that you know. And until we make the decision to change, we'll be experiencing the same thing over and over and over again. That's not change. It's more of the same. And as the reading said, you and I, we have the power to change our lives. And through changing our lives, through engaging in the practices, we gain a greater understanding. Primarily, a greater understanding of our own thinking, our own ability to reason, our own willingness to come face to face with our own thoughts. And this seems like a very simple and a very sensible thing to do. Yet, some of us found it very difficult to do. Some of us don't believe that it's possible to do. Some of us don't believe that it's possible that we could change our life. Some of us don't believe that the power and presence that is everywhere is right where we are, and that it's at hand, and that we can use it right now. That there's no delay in it giving back to us the thing that we desire. Sometimes we don't because we're hopeless. And so what we believe then is that our thoughts are creative. We believe that thoughts are things. And that our thoughts, through our thinking, we have the power to create anything. In fact, Ernest Holmes says, who's the founder of Science of Mind, that all thoughts are creative. Not some thoughts, but that all thoughts are creative. And if it's true, then we've got to let go of this idea that life happens to us. Fate, as it were. And somehow we don't have any power, we don't have any control, we don't have any say-so. It's just the way that it is. It's time for us to let go of the idea that life somehow happens outside of us and not within us. All of life is happening within us. And all that is outside of us is a reflection of the thoughts that we've held, the thoughts that we are holding that's within us. And we know that life, the things that are before us, is a result of our thinking. And we know that this thinking then happens in our own minds. You've got to get this point. It's within you where all of this is happening. Now, if I ask you about this mind, or I ask you about mind, you can't point to it. You can't tell me where it's at, because it's everywhere. We say that there is one mind. And that this mind is comprised of two different parts. We call it the objective and the subjective. We call it the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. We call it the seed and the soil. And we call it our thoughts and what we think about our thoughts. Our thoughts and what we think about our thoughts. This is the mind, and our use of it, our individual use of it, individualizes this law that we are talking about.